Hey guys, it's Glenn here from jazzpianolessons.online. So good to be hanging out with you again, and we're looking at the famous, the incredible tune by Miles Davis called So What. All right, this is a modal tune, and which means that we're not worrying too much about chord, what different chords we're going. We're actually staying in the mode of D, Dorian for a little while, and then we go to the E flat Dorian as well. Hey, let's learn the tune. Let's learn how to do some soloing over the top of it, and let's get into it. Okay. Now, for the piano, you really, if you're playing with somebody else, if you're playing particularly a bass player, right? If you're playing with a bass player, you don't need to play the bass line. So all you need to know is the so what chords or the so what voicings. Right? So we've got an E minor 7 or an E minor 11 and a D minor 11, all right? But in some ways you can kind of just think of them as modes of, like these are chords that belong to the mode of D minor, all right? So we're gonna do a fourth, build up on a fourth, and fourth. You can see the notation there. You got E, A, D, G, B. So we have 3/4, and then the top one is a major third, right? Now we're going to keep that shape the whole way through in the head, okay? During the part of the melody. So all we're doing is one, so a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, a bass, a 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. All right, that's the next bit. Then that repeats, right? Does that another 8 bars. So it's D minor or D Dorian for 8 bars, then E flat or F minor and the E flat. So we're literally going up. So this was, sorry, I should have said this is going down one tone, exactly. And it just happens that the shape stays the same and we have only white notes, all right? Now, when we go to the next part, we're going up one semitone. So we're going to go from every single one of these notes goes up one semitone or one half step, right? So, all right, and you might be able to see that notation there. It says F, B flat, E flat, A flat, C. Okay. And then everything is going to go down one tone or one whole step, just like it did with the other section when we were only playing the white notes. Okay, so. Now, to make that nice and smooth, you're changing all of the notes. Now, you can use the pedal and kind of take your hand off and use the pedal to kind of join it together. If you're not using the pedal, what you do is that the top note can play smoothly. Okay, it kind of cheats it. Like, okay, I've taken all the notes off except the C. You can still hear the C. Now, obviously, that's an extreme example of that, right? But you can kind of do that instead of where there's a slight gap, right? You can do that little pro tip there, really, I guess, for that one. Okay, so we've got the basic chords, the E minor, going to the D minor, and the F minor, going to the E flat minor. Okay. So they're the basic chords you need to have. Now, if you're playing the bass line, because you don't have a bass player with you, that's how slow. Now, finger-wise, you could do 5, 2, 1, and then come over the top. All right. Sorry, what am I doing? I think that's probably the way to go. 5, 2, 1, 3. Well, you could do it many ways. All right, does that a few times. The last time it just does E, 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 D, A. Okay, then all of that repeats, all right? Then all that, which is why we've got that first time bar. Let's see if I can show it to you. That's there. You can probably see my cursor there, my mouse there is showing you a first time bar with these repeat dots, okay? So that means go back to the beginning or back to the other repeat sign that's facing the other way, right? So we've done that twice, and then we're going to go up one semitone, and literally the same thing. We're going to, so the same notes again, right? One semitone up. Then we go back down, okay? Okay, go back and do that again. Now, once you're getting into solos, it's really just straight ahead jazz, all right? So it's really just D minor Dorian and E flat Dorian. I shouldn't say D minor Dorian, I should say D Dorian and E flat Dorian. Now, if you don't know what a Dorian is, there's a couple of ways to think of a Dorian mode. Now, a Dorian mode is you can either think of it as the second mode of the major scale. Here's my C major scale, right? C to C, all white notes, okay? The second mode, meaning I start on the second note of C major scale and go to, and play the same notes. All right, so here's C major scale, which is, if you play C major scale starting on C and finishing on C, it's actually a mode as well, and it's called an Ionian mode, all right? So, which is, we rarely ever call it that, because we normally just go, well, it's the major scale, right? So, but technically it's called the Ionian mode as well. All right, so we're starting on the second. Now, if you want to, you can kind of think of it as an altered major scale as well. There's another way to think of that, right? So an altered major scale. So if I'm thinking about D major scale, and then how do I get from D major scale to D Dorian? That's a way to think of it, right? There's my D major scale. It has an F sharp and a C sharp. Order of sharps is Father Christmas gets drunk and enjoys beer. All right, so we've got the F sharp and the C sharp. We've got two sharps, okay? I need to think of that, if I want to think of that as, if I want to go from, in my mind, go from D Dorian, or from any Dorian to, to go from D major to D Dorian, or go from any major to any Dorian, what I could think of is I can lower the third note and the seventh note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in this case, they're the two black notes, right? So if I lower the third, I'm going to the F. And if I lower the seventh, I'm going to go to the C. All right, which is what we found out before when we thought of, when we, in our mind, thought of D Dorian as the second mode of C major. C major, second mode, just start on the D. Okay, but if you want to, you can also think of a Dorian as flat 3, flat 7 from the same note major scale. D major, D Dorian. Lower the third, lower the seventh. Now there are some times when you might want to think of one of those ways rather than the other. It's good to know both. Now here's where you might use it, is when you are doing a scale maybe that you don't know particularly well, all right? So for example, I think thinking of D Dorian as the second mode of C is really quite easy in the sense I just kind of think, okay, white notes, I've got to play white notes, right? It makes it fairly simple, right? All the natural notes, okay? But if I'm looking at the E flat Dorian, I think it's, for me, I think that's E flat Dorian. So you can either think of it as the second mode of D flat. There's D flat major. Right. Or you can think of it as E flat major scale. There's E flat major scale. And you can lower the third and lower the seventh. So it really depends on what scales you know really well and what scales you don't know really well, you know, and you kind of just go with that. All right, for so what? So hopefully that helps you with what a Dorian mode is anyway. Right? But for so what you need to know is that Dorian is the first half of the, the first half of it, the first 16 bars of the head is in D Dorian, right? So literally, sometimes I just play white notes. I'm just kind of, I'm not even thinking about it right now. I don't want to suggest don't ever think about it, right? But what I'm saying is, literally, those white notes sound right. If you get a shape happening, you just kind of, that works in. It actually kind of works in this particular song, and I wonder, Bill Evans was the piano player on the original So What. I wonder if he thought a little bit about it in that way. I'm not sure, right? So maybe someone has heard Bill Evans talk about him creating the So What chords and playing in this particular way for this particular song, right? So so solo wise, the important notes are going to be right, those notes, the natural notes, but also too, you might want to think of the chord, right? D, F, A, and C. That's the chord, right? So Miles Davis's solo. It literally spells out the chord. I think. Can't remember the whole solo, but it's something like that, right? So it literally spells out D minor, right? Right, so you can, I would just experiment with some different shapes. Then you can, that's the actual So What shape, right? All right, so you're doing that for 16 bars, and then we're going to take everything up one semitone, all right, or to the E flat Dorian mode. Now you might want to think of this as all of the black notes plus F and C. That's probably a fairly easy way to do it. So you've got two white notes, F and C. The rest are your, the flats and the sharps, all right? So you just, same kind of idea. Because it's a modal piece, you don't have to think too much about chords. But I'm just kind of playing shapes that fit that mode, right? You could get away with this song for the very first time you try and improvise through this. You could get away with doing natural notes, flats and sharps. Like literally, you could do it that simple. White notes, black notes, right? All right, you could kind of cheat your way through it that way, right? But it's even better if you're going to add in the F and the C when you go to the black notes, right? Now, once you've done that, it's worthwhile knowing the notes of the chords really well, particularly the 3 and the 7. 3 and the 7, they're always called the guide tones, right? So, all right, so it's such a solid note. Oh, my F needs to be tuned. I just added a little chromatic note there. All right, I'm going to go to the E flat Dorian, and I went to the third. So here's 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay. Now there's a trick that when I've played this tune with less experienced jazz players at a gig, what often happens is they forget to do the last lot of the D minor, right? So after you've played the head, you go and you do your solos, right? Now it's a 32 bar repeat, right? So just have a look at this notation here, right? So if bar, this part here, A, right, is the start, okay? That's your D minor or D Dorian, okay? And then there's going to be 8 bars of that until this repeat sign, and then we go back and do it again. So there's 16 bars of the D Dorian. 16 bars of that, okay? Then after that, you're going to do 8 bars of the E flat, okay? And then you do another 8 bars of the D. Oh, did I say, I don't know what I said, A flat or E flat? E flat, is if I didn't say it was meant to be E flat, right? And then you do another 8 bars of the D, right? Now, here's what people sometimes do wrong is they do 16 of the D, they do 8 of the D, and so 8 of the 16 of the D, and then they do 8 of the E flat, and then they start the D again, but they kind of go back to the beginning, right? When you go from you need to do D Dorian for 16, 8 of the D, of the E flat, and then you need to do 8 plus 16 of the D again, right? So sometimes people just do the 16, but if you're adding in the end and the beginning as it goes in together, there's 24 bars all up, right? So you got your D Dorian, 16 bars of that, E flat Dorian, 8 bars, 8 bars of D, right? And then you start your 16 bars again, 16 bars of D, right? So 24 bars all up as you cycle, as you go around. All right, so it's a great tune. I hope you have a lot of fun with it. I would recommend listening to the original, recommend listening to a whole bunch of different people playing it, and have lots of fun. I'd love to see some of you playing, yeah, hey, it's good to be hanging out with you again. Hey, if you like these videos, if they're helpful for you, like, subscribe, and yeah, let me know too. It's a bit of an encouragement sometimes when someone says, hey, that's a good video. All right, so all right, all the best, guys. I'll see you again real soon.